you already have some level of emotional attachment because it's, you've already tried it on, you've fallen in love with it, and by the time you hear the price, it is sticker shock. And I suppose the parallel is very similar to what a lot of photographers do, and I don't think it's done intentionally. To be honest, I think it's because we're not confident with the price because, let's face it, I don't think most photography businesses are aligned with what clients are buying from us.
Hey, and welcome to the Difference Maker Revolution podcast. And the four of us are back again. We have Jeanine and Jonathan and Steve and myself, Ronan. And this week we're going to talk about when do you reveal the price to your client? And when you reveal it, how it can show whether you're really doing a bait and switch or you're actually adding value to your clients. Alrighty, let's kickstart this. We're going fishing.
What do you mean? Did I not just see your ad and just wire you 20 grand and you just delivered a portrait 6 months later? Is that not what happens? You don't need to tell them the price ever, right? They should just know they're going to buy your art. It's going to be 20 grand. They'll wire it to you. No bother.
It's on your website somewhere.
Yeah.
Buried.
I'm only messing. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Jeanine, you were telling us a story about a jeweler's, right? And I thought it was a great example of another industry that gets this wrong too, right? Not everyone in the industry, but how some people get it wrong and how it makes you feel. Can you tell us that first? Because I think it lays the foundation to what we're going to talk about now.
Yeah. So, and it's funny because the example was given in a workshop I went to on selling photography, right? And so they used it as what they thought was an example of something good. And I remember thinking, well, that's icky. I don't like that at all. But the example was given that if you go into a high-end jeweler, that the price tags are flipped over. And so the idea is you walk in and you view the piece of jewelry that you love, and then you have to ask the price. Right? You don't get to just browse and see it because then it forces you to interact with the salesperson and you have to ask for the price. And then, of course, the comments were, well, if you have to ask, you can't afford it. Right? And it's well, that's icky. I would never walk into that jewelry store. What a horrible feeling. I would not to have to ask and then feel weird about it and to be oh, that's $20,000. My budget was $1,000, and now you feel dumb. You feel no one wants that feeling. What a horrible feeling. Why would I just can't even imagine running my business that way. And I remember walking out of that workshop where they were so proud of that jeweler example and comparing photographers to high-end jewelers. And I was really? Is that the feeling you want your clients to walk away with? An icky feeling on something that is supposed to be a beautiful transformational experience for them and their family and their kids? They should be happy with the money they're spending, not have an ick feeling. They're never going to come back to you if they have an ick feeling. Why? That doesn't build loyal clients. That doesn't build clients that know, and trust you and want to refer their friends and family and come back to you multiple times a year. That's a one and done. I'm out of here. Never again.
Or a great reputation in your community.
Yeah. So, yeah, I thought it was interesting. And again, not all jewelers do that. It was but I have seen jewelers do that. And that was
they
the
wouldn't take
example
the
that was
price
given.
tag off. It's hidden under the the little
Yes.
velvet thing. So it's in the velvet, and then you're asked to see it, and then they take it out and they unclip it. You know how it's got the little clip, and so they unclip the price, and then it's face down, and then they let you try it on, and then they let you fall in love with it, and then you spend money that you weren't expecting because now you've fallen in love with it, and you already have some level of emotional attachment because it's you've already tried it on, you've fallen in love with it, and by the time you hear the price, it is sticker shock. And I suppose the parallel is very similar to what a lot of photographers do, and I don't think it's done intentionally. To be honest, I think it's because we're not confident with the price because, let's face it, I don't think most photography businesses are aligned with what clients are buying from us, right? And so because we're not aligned with understanding from a client's perspective what they value and what they're actually buying from us, then we struggle with telling them the price or charging for what we do because we're selling our work, our style, our photography, archival quality. We're selling paper weaved by elves in a mystical wood.
Blessed by a unicorn.
Overseen by unicorns. And what our clients are buying is, and what our clients are seeing is that child that is their miracle child that they've been longing for 10, 15 years. And they've gone through so much to get to this point. And so what they're seeing and what they're buying is something very different to what many photographers are selling, which is my style and my work and my Instagram page and the lens I bought and the camera I'm using, and I have bills to pay and all this stuff. Whereas, there's a misalignment. And so, we then put off telling people the price because we've had rejection. And we're getting that rejection because we're not aligned with what clients are actually buying. We're trying to push, and we hear it all the time. I didn't want to push them. I don't want to push them. But of course you're pushing them because you're not aligned. You're not aligning yourself with what that person is actually wanting to buy from you. So it's always going to feel like you're pushing people because you're misaligned. And so we put it off because, we've had rejection, and then we put it off because we've had rejection. But then that's not fair to then let them try on the ring, let them fall in love with it. They're seeing their photos, they're falling in love with it. They can already see it on their walls. They can see it in their child's bedroom. And then you drop the bombshell. And that's just not fair.
It's not fair. And it's not fair to you as the business owner, but it's not fair to your clients. No, it's not fair to everybody. Everybody's I love win-win-wins, right? This is a lose-lose-lose. It's a lose for you in the day. It's a lose for your client. And it's a lose for both because neither of you will want to come back and do business together with each other again.
And that's huge, Ronan.
And we've seen photography companies burn countries, like create a reputation for themselves where every photographer is cast into the same sort of field or the same boat. And there's a lot of people who believe that you need to hide it, you don't put it anywhere, and you don't tell the client until they've right at the end, and then you don't even tell them. You create some menu that is so difficult to work out and understand, and shove it under their nose and expect the client to know what they want. And then they're suffering from sticker shock. So definitely, I believe we need to be upfront, and we have to be aligned. Like, we need to align ourselves with what people actually and understand from a client's perspective. What are they actually buying from us, and what do they want? What do they value about what we do? What is it that when somebody seeks photography, where's the value? And how can we make this something that they enjoy and something that they feel proud of doing, rather than feeling like they've been stung?
Okay, so let's get the pendulum to swing, right? Because we've talked about it's not good enough to use bait and switch, use hard sales tactics.
And that's what it is. It's a bait and switch.
And introduce the price in the design consultation, or if you're not a difference maker revolution photographer yet, in the viewing or in the IPS or whatever language you
Even
use
the
for that,
word
right?
viewing is a bait and switch in my words. If you're telling somebody that they're coming into view and they're doing a viewing, in their head they think, oh, I'm just coming to have a look. I didn't realize I had to
Right.
buy.
Right. You and I have had this conversation because of how I swung the pendulum before meeting Steve, right? Like I had, and this was like kind of my journey, and I bet a lot of photographers have been on this journey because they didn't feel good with the way they were taught in the industry of waiting to the end and then sticker shocking and this horrible icky feeling. So I swung the other way, right? The pendulum for me swung completely to the other way, and I published price guides. I gave them to my clients up front. I called it an ordering appointment. And it's funny you mentioned that because I totally forgot about that when we were prepping for the podcast. I called it an ordering appointment because the viewing word, I'm like, viewing, but then they don't think they're ordering. I want people to know what it is. They're coming in to order, And so I swung completely to a logical side because I didn't want to be on the icky side. And it worked. But then I met Steve and I was able to massage it and make it even better, right? So it's interesting when you talk about the pendulum, Ronan, because I think like you feel one way and then you feel like you got to switch the other way and then you come back into the right way.
Well, before we get into the right way, I want to swing to the other side, which I see, right? Which is, no, I'm putting my price on my website.
Right.
Right. So the client can see the price before we have a conversation. And I expect my client to understand what my experience is going to be about and what value they're going to get from it by just seeing a price on my website, when most consumers think that a photo is just about a photo because our industry has trained them to see that. So can we talk about that then? This idea of, well, I'm going to price qualify up front and I'm going to put a price on my website so I don't have a conversation with anybody unless they know that that's the minimum amount of money that they're going to spend, or maybe the maximum.
I'm going to come in and just say something quickly, because Steve, this is more Steve's thing, but a lot of people try and price qualify very early in the experience. Like they'll try and price qualify people in their Facebook ads. And here's the problem with that. When you try and price qualify people in your marketing or very early on,
Even on the
you
website.
actually, website, it doesn't really matter, anywhere. If you price qualify before the discovery call, then the problem you're going to face is you're going to automatically eliminate people who, because they don't understand their value yet, because they haven't had the discovery call, you're going to potentially eliminate people who, once they have that discovery call, could be a 10, 15, 20K client, because they haven't had the opportunity to be shown their value as the client by you, the difference maker photographer. So,
or even a $1,500 client, that's okay too.
of course, yeah, I'm just giving an extreme example because, like, people, we hear it all the time. Oh, I don't want to waste my time talking to people who don't value me and all this bull crap. Like,
Just don't understand that. I don't.
you're better off having like, I don't see if it's free, but like register to win offers where there's like a value on the gift certificate, but if they qualify, they get it, right? Without paying for it, without paying for the gift certificate, because the conversations you have with some of those clients, you're opening up the floodgates for potential clients who could be really, really great clients. Whereas if you put up a price, say, oh, it's £500 or euro or dollar, because they haven't had the discovery call yet, they may just not fill out your form or on your website, on your ad, at an exhibition, because they haven't been given the opportunity to see their value yet. So it's really hard in the photography industry to like price qualify unless you've had a discovery call.
Well, photography is such an emotional buy.
It's not, I don't think it's just photography. I think that most businesses where you're doing a service, even delivering a product, you can't really just put out a price list without having a conversation. And the example I had always heard was a florist, right? And if someone calls a florist and asks how much is a dozen flowers, the florist isn't just going to say it's $24.95. They're going to ask you questions first. What occasion are you shopping for? What are these? Who are these flowers for? And they're going to ask you a whole series of questions before they tell you the price of the dozen flowers, and they're going to, and so it's sort of the same idea. So, cake baker, there's a lot of different businesses. So I wouldn't say it's just photography. I think it's businesses that relate to people where you're purchasing for. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. So you have to have conversations in order to be able to deliver a price that makes sense for what it is that they're buying. And so having it, like you said, Ronan, flipped the completely other way, where you just put up a menu of prices. Those menu of prices don't mean anything unless there's been a conversation that's had.
Yeah. The other thing that irks me is when I hear this thing, if they cry, they buy. That's hard sales tactics too.
This is a pet
so your
peeve
job is
podcast. All of our pet peeves.
tell them no price. Get them in to the viewing, which is not a word we use, but I'm using it because it's normally these people who use that word that do this. Get them emotional, get them crying, and then hit them over the head with their price so that before they actually get their senses back, they're spending money with you. They go out, the buyer's remorse. Many of those people actually, if they can, they'll cancel the order. That's why you see them producing these contracts that are 10 pages long to say you can't get out of this. It's just rubbish.
I was just going to say, Ronan, when you were talking about that, I'm like, those are the people who are also on the forums talking about how many canceled orders and buyer's remorse clients they end up dealing with.
And they think the solution is a contract that's 10 pages long.
Right.
That you have to forfeit your home if you don't complete it.
Forcing people to fulfill their end of the bargain. I think we've got to understand that, and I've just quickly tapped into ChatGPT to give me the number, 95% of purchase decisions are emotional. 95% of our purchase decisions are emotional. So when we're buying a car, it's not about the metal and, it's about how that brand makes us feel. It's about how we feel when we get into the car, how we feel because we own the car, and clothes are the same. When you put something on, it changes the way you feel. It can change your confidence. It depends on what emotion you attach to certain things. And we've got to know that 95% of our decisions are emotional and driven by emotion. And I think that's what makes us as difference makers so different, is that the first part of what we have to do is help people find their value and help find out what matters to them, because we're selling art, and art is an emotional attachment, whether it's you're admiring a statue at the Piazza Navona, or you are, going looking at these incredible paintings that are priceless. It's the emotion that makes them priceless. And so what we create, when we create it, we need to find out, help people find out what is that emotional driver for them, and what is it that they need to feel? What is it they want to feel when they see their photographs? What emotion is it that they want to highlight? What part of themselves do they want to highlight? Because then, I'm a strong believer that it's not that people don't value photography anymore. They just don't value themselves enough to be photographed. They don't value themselves enough to spend X amount of dollars on themselves. You go to some of these entrepreneurial, those entrepreneurial meetups where there's thousands of people in a room, and there'll be people that stand up and, there was the speaker got up and asked, stand up, if you've spent more than $5,000 on a handbag, and there's tons of people in there. And they do that because they believe they are worth it. And I think that if we don't take the time to help people feel valuable enough to be photographed, if we don't take the time to show people their value, And once we do that, once they understand the value and understand, what we're giving them, then, we should be attaching the value or the price. We ask the questions like Jeanine was saying, ask them about what they'd love to have, where they would love to display it, give them some idea of, what that's going to cost them. I think it has to come after, some questions, and so that way we're not just taking a stab in the dark. Our cheapest price, telling somebody the cheapest price is and the average person spends, at the end is too late. It's got to be upfront. But we need to, like Jono was saying, if you're putting them up on the price in your ads and you're doing it, you're not giving people the chance to understand the value of what they're going to receive.
And when you say upfront, Steve, you don't mean upfront before the questions. You mean the questions and then the price, but upfront before they come in for the experience.
Yes.
Yes.
Before you actually book them in.
Yes. Before you book them in. I just want to clarify for those in the back who might not have understood what you said.
Before you actually book them in. I got a little bit lost in there, I think.
So we don't try and price qualify in the marketing, as Jonathan said. We don't leave it till the very end in the viewing, as people who tend to do this do it. I'm using that word on purpose, so it's not associated with what we do. And I'm going to do it then once I've had an opportunity to have a conversation with a potential client to understand what they value and show them their value, and
help elevate their value. Because as an industry, we should be elevating people's value and helping people feel more valuable.
And then when we do that, and then they tell us where they want to display that emotion once they've discovered it, that's when we start to introduce price first. Is that correct?
Yeah, because it should be linked to that. Because you can't be quoting on a 8x10 that is going to sit on a shelf if they're imagining something above their bed or something, above their couch, and you're quoting them the price for something that is tiny.
And that's also where confusion comes in the design consultation room too, because we've seen that as well. People think they're being upfront with pricing. They quote out their cheapest price, and then people come in, but I gave the pricing upfront, and then they come in after their session. They come into the design consultation, and they're flabbergasted that to get what they want is going to be a couple of $1,000s. And that also feels like a bait and switch. But you told me it was $200. No, I said the prices started at $200, right? And so, but to get to what you love, it's going to be $2,500.
But that's happened to me too.
Yeah.
In all fairness, I've come in and saying, I want a family photo. I want a photo of all my kids together. I want it for the lounge room. And I've been, they've said to me the prices start at $200. And in my head, I'm imagining, because I'm imagining this in my lounge room, above my 3-seater couch, and I've told them it's a family photo. I told them I want a photograph of my kids all together, and I told them I wanted it for my wall. And because they've said prices start at, I'm assuming that their wall art starts at,
right,
and something that's going to look okay above my couch starts at. But what they're quoting on is a 5x7.
Yep. And so it's not just okay to give a price up front. You have to give the right price up front, or you're essentially still bait and switching your client in the end and leaving them with that icky feeling.
So, Steve, you talk about, often a good measure of this is I see you when you're coaching many of the Difference Maker Revolution clients. One of the questions you ask them is, so how often do your clients come back again?
Yeah.
Right. And if the client has been burnt, right, that's one reason why they won't be coming back again. The other reason is you may not have a system to invite them back again, which is a separate thing. But often it can be that, right, that they've been burnt once, gone. And as you said a little bit earlier, to start of this podcast is like, what does that do your brand reputation in your community?
Yeah. It's amazing how quickly bad news spreads. but it's hard to regain ground once you've lost it.
Yeah, and it spreads way quicker than good news.
Yeah. And, there are lots of people that are running on, now with Facebook, there's an abundance of leads, an abundance of clients. And so they just burn through leads and burn through people and there isn't really a consequence because there's more people. They just spend more money on more ads and burn through more people and but it catches up in the end.
It does. Always.
And it's hard work looking for new clients all the time and working with cold clients. The easiest way to grow a business is to get your clients to use you more often. One other thing that I like to ask people is, what about your partnerships? How many alliances do you have? Because that's normally an indicator too, because when you have raving fans, they come to you and say, oh my God, my clients would love this. Do you do something? Like, I'd love to, how can I help you? How can I help promote you? When we give people this incredible experience and we're being upfront and honest, there are people that want to come and work for you because you're attracting, people who want to give what you've given them. And there are people that, want to align their businesses with yours and want to promote this through their channels and through their circles. And that's an indicator of that trust, that rapport that you built with people as well.
So, Jono, I don't want to be a starving artist, right? I don't want my clients to feel icky. I do want my clients to come back over and over again and get amazing value from me. And as a result of that value, spend with me. What do I do?
Oh, what do you do? What you need to do is you need to click the link below this video or go to joindifferencemaker.com/inner circle and join the inner circle, because the inner circle is a community of thriving difference makers. Not only is it a community, but it also has weekly coaching that's going to help you to elevate your skill set, elevate your business, elevate your clients, as well as incredible training courses, in-depth training courses, plus much, much more. So click the link below, join the inner circle today. We can't wait to see you inside.
And if you want to hear Jono sing a rendition of Bohemian Rhapsody, click the link below.
Yes.
We'll see you all on the inside.
Bye, everyone.